Hello and welcome to a late review video from RC Empire. Today we will be unboxing this amazing bargain I picked up, a Tamiya TT01. Now you have seen our high-spec TT02 build, but this is quite different. So the box actually came delivered in a pretty bad condition. As you can see in the bottom left corner, there is a big dent in it and it's actually crumpled in. But it looks like there's a ton of bubble wrap, so it should be okay. Now the great thing with this set is that it came with a transmitter, and as you can see, it is massively old. This is an Acoms transmitter and was released in the late 1980s. It has 2 channels and it's built and looks like a tank. I've seen a lot of these online and I've always wondered what that silver bar is across the top, but it seems to be fixed and it's just there as a handle. So on the back we have the battery tray. And this came with batteries, which makes a change, saving me some money. One thing I really like is that you've got this little power meter on the top here. And I guess it's just a simple voltmeter, but it actually works, which is great. And again on the top you have the aerial. Also included in the sale, and a great little bonus, is this little battery charger. And I think this is called the B6 Mystery Balance Charger. And this is a proper mystery because there really isn't a lot of information about these. It's just a generic charger and you can probably find it under some other names too. And it comes with a Tamiya plug for charging. So let's get on to the fun stuff and take a look at the car. It's wrapped in this big bubbled bubble wrap, which is fine, but it doesn't look like there's much padding on the top. And there, in all its orange glory, it is. Now you can see straight away that there is a little problem in that the body is cracked around the front body mounts, which is a real shame because it looks like a really cool body and one that someone has put a lot of work into. It's got all the wing mirrors, the aerial, windscreen wipers and a lot of great stickers, but it seems to be cracked all around. And it's even got this wicked exhaust, which amazingly is 3D printed and looks great. So it's a real shame that it's cracked up like that. But we can always do a little bit of repair. Under the windows, you've got this mesh type sticker, which I really don't like. So let's have a look under the shell and see what we've got. You can see that it comes with a battery, which was connected in transit. And if we turn it on, we can see that there is some life in it anyway, which is always a good sign. Now the car comes with a Speed Passion World Champion Gen Competition 13.5 turn motor. And you can pick these up for around £60, although there's not many of them left around and you can probably pick up the new Speed Passion motors for cheaper. If we power everything up, you can see first of all the servo. This is nothing crazy and it's an absolute bog standard plastic geared analog Futaba S3003, which you can pick up for £9 and it is rated at 0.19 seconds and 4 kilograms per centimeter at 6 volts. Taking a look at the drive of the car, however, it seems like there is something dodgy. Every time you move the throttle lever, it reacts differently. And I'm not actually sure if that's the car or if there's something wrong with the transmitter or receiver, which would be a real shame. On the other hand, it might just be a dodgy crystal. The speed controller, again, is actually a pretty good one. It's a HobbyWing EZrun 60 amp sensorless ESC, which for around £35 is really versatile. it can handle 3S lipos and motors down to 5.5 turn on 2S. And that is soldered straight onto the motor. One of the nice things with this speed controller is that you can also use the HobbyWing programming box to change all sorts of fun settings. But what really matters is the chassis. Now the TT01 was released in 2003 and there were around 8 different variants, including race and drift spec chassis with all sorts of different hop-ups included. By the looks of it, the chassis we have here is the very standard TT01 with no oil-filled shocks and no adjustability on the shock towers. The car came with these pretty cool looking drift tyres and wheels, 2 little capacitors soldered onto the speed controller and the original Acoms Receiver. Although it does seem to have an upgraded center drive shaft. Under the chassis battery compartment, you have these vents, probably designed to keep the battery cool during use, although this is no longer featured on the TT02. Now, taking a look at the battery, the first thing I can see is that again it is an absolute mystery. It is 5000 mAh, but I can't seem to see any labels stating if it's 2S or 3S. It looks like it's 2S, but it also looks very blown up, which is not good, and it is blown up quite a bit, so I might actually get a cheap 2S lipo if I start using this car a lot. In the battery tray, you have these little ribs for stiffening the chassis, and again you can see that open bottom design. These ribs are not found on the TT02, which is great because it means you can fit a wider battery if you need to. One thing I really noticed with this car is just how stiff and non-linear the suspension travel is on the front compared to the back. So on the front you have maybe 5mm of movement, and then the travel starts to get really hard as if something is blocking or limiting the movement. Whereas on the back they act completely normal as you would expect. And of course they are really springy with no oil. What I think is causing this limited movement is that the steering linkage going from the wheel hub to the steering mechanism is stopping full suspension travel because it has limited vertical movement. It's nothing major on this car, but maybe if they had used ball joints instead, there would be a bit more movement there. One thing to mention is that there is also a lot of movement in the front steering assembly, and this means movement which should really not be there. But this is an old model and maybe this is due to worn out parts. Another major part, and something which has definitely changed on the TT02, is the main chassis. There is really quite a lot of flex in this chassis with very minimal force being applied, which is very different to the much stiffer TT02. Finally, I want to show you a few measurements just so you can get an idea of the size of the car. So the main bathtub is around 200mm in length. The width is around 125mm. The track is 185mm. And the wheelbase is approximately 257mm. Inside the battery tray, we have a length of 142mm, and a width of around 59. But with those ribs, you might be limited to a battery with a width of around 40mm, which is the width of the one that came with the car. And that's it from this video. This was just a quick summary of the car, and I will be back very shortly with a full and detailed comparison with our TT02 and some running and testing videos. So I hope you enjoyed. Please rate and subscribe and drop us a comment below if you'd like to see anything else. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon.